This bill is silent about the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, the RFRA. The Religious Freedom Restoration Act is the protection that people of faith rely on in this country. We should just have to rely on the Constitution, but because the left has violated the Constitution so much, we rely on the Religious Freedom Restoration Act for any kind of conscience protections. If you are a medical provider and you don't want to take part in an abortion, if you are a doctor who doesn't want to surgically remove the healthy breasts of a teenage girl in the name of gender dysphoria, any kind of religious exemption to radical leftist laws. If you don't want to do what the left tried to force Jack Phillips to do, to violate his religious beliefs and use his free expression to create a celebration, a symbol of celebration for gay marriage, which was counter to his sincerely held religious beliefs, well, you're protected by the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which codifies your right to practice your faith in the public sphere. And let me back up from that for just a second. So there are several other Democrat bills that have gone to Congress. Some of them have even passed the House that specifically exclude Religious Freedom Restoration Act protections. One of these bills is the Equality Act. We've heard about the Equality Act a lot. The Equality Act isn't about equality. It is also an assault on religious freedom. It would force schools to allow men in women's locker rooms. It would force medical providers to do abortions or else face legal ramifications. It's not about equality at all. But in the Equality Act, they're at least open about the fact that people are not going to be protected. People of faith are not going to be protected by the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. There are carve-outs that say the Religious Freedom Restoration Act does not apply to this bill. And because the Equality Act and others exclude Religious Freedom Restoration Act protections, that's one of the reasons that those bills don't pass the Senate. Because as you know, it's a 50-50 split in the Senate, which means in order for a bill to be passed, you don't just have to have 50 people, 50 Democrats voting. You actually have to have 60 votes to overcome that filibuster. And 10 Republicans are not going to sign on to a bill that excludes protections for people of faith practicing their religion in the public sphere. The Respect for Marriage Act, the so-called Respect for Marriage Act, is silent about the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And that's a trick. Because the Democrats are silent about the RFRA in their so-called Respect for Marriage Act because they want to trick Republicans into thinking, oh, okay, there are protections for religious people in this. This is just a bill making sure that if some zany Supreme Court headed by Clarence Thomas in the future wants to overturn Obergefell, that gay people can still get married. They specifically are silent about the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. But make no mistake, that doesn't mean that they will allow the protections of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act to stand once this bill, if it passed the Senate, if it was signed by Joe Biden, becomes law. It just means they plan to challenge that in another way.